Students and listeners, I am Shahriyar Aydınov from the Department of Accounting and Audit. As you know, because of coronavirus or COVID-19 virus, our university started online classes. And today it's my first online lesson in English, so I am a little excited. I apologize for my possible mistakes. And before starting our lesson, I once again urge all our students to stay home and protect themselves from virus. So let's start our today's topics. As you see, our today's topic is named Audit of Settlements and Credit Operations. This lesson is for third-year economics students of our university, but I will try to explain it relatively briefly because it's a non-specialty subject for our third-year economics students. Okay, we have 5 subheadings for our topic today. As you see, audit of settlements with suppliers and contractors, audit of settlements with buyers and customers, audit of credit and debit settlements, audit of budget settlements, and audit of salary settlements. Let's look at our bibliography, or you can call it references. There are 4 references in our bibliography, but I prefer to use the books or the sources in our language. Just one book, you see, is in English language. Because I try to translate our materials into English, I want our lecture to be in accordance with our national auditing standards. So the main parts of our bibliography is in our language, is in Azeri language. So you see, one online source we have. You already know the site of our university, and you can find lectures there. Okay. Let's introduce our topic for you. Okay, there are different sections of settlement operations. You already saw it in our outline, in our plan. Before explaining each section separately, I want to talk about the general responsibilities of auditors. First of all, the auditor should pay special attention to how the settlement transactions are reflected in the primary accounting records. What does it mean? As you know, in enterprise, each transaction must have its own accounting records. So it's the beginning of all process. And after that, the second one, the auditor should determine the time and nature of the transaction. And it's also similar to the first factor. Let's continue. The auditor should determine the correctness of prices. What does it mean? As you see, the prices of products purchased or sold must be properly reflected in the enterprise's accounting records. Because the enterprise can calculate its own revenues or expenses in the accordance of its prices. So prices must be properly and correctly recorded or reflected in accounting records. So let's continue. The last one, the auditor should determine the timely and correct receipt of goods and services. Not only receipt of goods and services, of course, also shipment of goods and services. But, of course, some of these items, some of these concepts may change, may vary, depending on the type of settlement. Okay. Now the first subheading of our topic, you see audit of settlements with suppliers and contractors. Each enterprise may need any materials, any goods or any equipment services to be used in production process. That's why we learn this type of settlements. And this calculation, this settlement occurs when the enterprise acquires various construction materials, equipment and services related. The main purpose of the inspection is to determine the accuracy of records of settlements with suppliers and contractors for goods and materials received, the work performed, and the services provided. What does it mean? It means that suppliers and contractors can supply for us other goods or materials or services. You can understand, I think, the both part of this paragraph. Okay, let's continue. The main legal document between the enterprise and supplier or contractor is a contract concluded between them. I think it's the main and it's the most important part of this paragraph because, as you know, the contract is so important. All amounts of products, goods, materials, and prices of them, all are shown in the contract. So the auditor must first check the existence of contract. And if in case of any disagreement with the both sides, enterprise and suppliers or contractors, this contract will be the most important legal document between them and can solve all problems. Okay, during this checking process, during the checking process of settlements with suppliers and contractors, the auditor must perform the followings. First, I have already mentioned it, to check the existence of the concluded contract and the correctness of its conclusion. It means that if there is no any contract or it is incorrect, all settlements between two sides are invalid. That's why it's the most important part of this checking process. But if there is a contract and it's correct, the auditor must continue or should continue his inspection from the second factor, I think, to check the correct registrations of payables, or you can call it credit or debts, arising from the purchase of goods and materials in the registers. What does it mean? You know that there are two types of debts, I can say so, creditor debts and debitor debts, or payables and receivables. Payables, it means that you must pay any amount of money to someone or to some company, but receivables, it means that you can collect it from any company or any enterprise. So payables are written in the passive side of the balance sheet, but receivables are written in the active side of balance sheet. So let's continue from the third one, to check the accounting information of the enterprise with the information in the accounts of suppliers. What does it mean? If it is necessary, the auditor can request accounting information, accounting records of suppliers and contractors related to our enterprise, because the auditor wants to take an inventory between the two sides, enterprise and suppliers. And as you see, the accounting data of suppliers and contractors must coincide. It means that must be in accordance with the accounting data of the enterprise. And it's one of good methods to check enterprises' accounting records. This method is called inventory, or taking an inventory. Okay, let's continue. The auditor should further examine the transactions on the 201, 113, 431, or 531 accounts, and etc. You can see the full names of these accounts in the end of our lesson, in the last slide, I think. So let's continue our lesson. Okay, the second subheading of our today's topic is about the audit of settlements with buyers and customers. So what does it mean? Like I want to explain it. For example, in our first chapter, in our first subheading, audit of settlements with suppliers or contractors, it means that you get something from any company, you buy any materials, goods from any company, but in this case, in the second subheading, you sell or you ship, you send anything, any products to any other companies. And you can say that maybe it's the opposite of first subheading. In the first subheading, there are payments, but in these subheadings, in this chapter, there are receivables. Okay, this calculation occurs when the enterprise sells, I have already talked about it, any products or services to buyers. The main purpose of the inspection, of the checking process, is to determine the accuracy of settlements with buyers or customers for products sold, works performed, and services provided. Again, as same in first chapter, products, works, or services, all are different, and you can sell as a product or work or service. Okay, during this checking process, the auditor or the auditors must perform the followings. Let's look at. Again, the first one is to check existence of a contract for the sale and shipment of products. I have already talked about that. The contract is one of the most important things, because you can see all amounts, all prices, all other details in these contracts. So again, it's the first thing to check for all auditors. But again, if there is a contract and if it is correct, let's continue with second part to check the correct registration of debitor debts or receivables arising from the products sold and services rendered. We have talked about it also. We said that payables in first subheadings, in first chapter, payables, it means you must pay it someone, it's a debt, it's a credit for you. But receivables, it means you can get or you will get it from someone from other companies. Again, active for receivables, passive for payables. So you see the other difference also. Products sold, we say here, but there we said that products purchased or got. Okay, and the last sentence for our second chapter, account number 211 is the main information source for this checking process. But I want to say something about it. It doesn't mean that the auditor must only or should only check this account. Of course, there are so many accounts related with this account depending on other and different transactions. But the main account for this part is 211. Okay, let's continue our third chapter and third subheading, audit of credit and debit settlements. Okay, I want to explain a bit about them, credit and debit. Credit and debit are similar concepts, similar items. Don't confuse it with payables or receivables. Payables and receivables are different from each other. But credit and debit, they are similar, and it's similar to your payables because you must pay your credit or debit to someone. Okay, let's talk about it. The main purpose of the audit is to determine the accuracy of the settlement of loans and borrowings in the company's report. Again, loans and borrowings are similar. Okay, the auditor must check the followings. First at all, again about its agreements and contracts, the existence of loan and borrowing agreements. If you go bank or other credit institutions, if you want to get any loan, there must be a loan agreement certainly and definitely. You see, when taking a loan from a bank or other credit institution, a loan agreement must be calculated. Okay, but which information are in this agreement or contract? You see, this agreement specifies the amount of the loan, the repayment period, and the interest rate. Okay, the interest rate, it means a percent of your loan. You can understand it like that. So, let's continue. The second important thing while checking credit and debit settlements, use of bank loans in accordance with their purpose. It's one of the biggest problems, especially in our country and in other countries. For example, any company or any enterprise takes an amount of loan from bank. For example, to create a new production area in the enterprise or to improve its equipment and something, etc. But after taking this loan, they don't expense or they don't use this loan in accordance with their purpose. For example, they try to repay another debt, and it's false, it's wrong. So auditors must check, must inspect this factor also. Okay, let's continue the third one. Accurate recording of interest on loans and borrowings. It's clear that interest or percent, we have talked about it, it's shown in contract, in agreement, so it's easy to check whether the interest is true or not. Okay, let's continue. Correct valuation of property acquired at the expense of borrowed funds. What does it mean? For example, I want to compare two cases for you. The first, for example, I get my loan from any bank, and then I go to buy any materials and equipment with this money. It means that the value of products that I purchased, just the money I have given. Not another loans or not another values, we mustn't sum. But if we bought a product on credit, it means that we must add the interest on the loan to the value of the products. It means that the interest on the loan is so important when you try to value your property. Okay, the last sentence, accounts number 401, 404, 501 and 504 are the main information sources of this checking process. Again, I want to remember that these accounts not are the only accounts, but the main accounts in this checking process, you see, the 4 accounts. Okay, let's continue our next subheading. As you see, audit of budget settlements. Okay, how can I explain it for you? As you see, each enterprise must pay to the budget and extra budgetary funds. This payment may vary, may change depending on this enterprise, but generally what payments must to be paid to budget and extra budgetary funds, you will see here. Okay, the main purpose of the audit of settlements with the budget and extra budgetary funds is to determine the timely and accurate transfer of taxes, duties, and other payments to the budget or extra budgetary funds. Okay, you already know about taxes, duties, and other payments. What does it mean? In our country, generally, there are 3 types of settlements with budgets. The first one is taxes. Second one, deductions from salary to pension funds. And maybe the third one is compulsory insurance. I think we will see all that I counted here. Okay, let's continue. The auditor should further check the followings. The first one, you see, correctness of application of the tax rate established by the legislation or established by the government. For example, in our country, I want to show you some tax rates in different types of taxes. The personal income tax is 14%, and it's about state structures, and corporate income tax is 20%, and value-added tax is 18%. Okay, let's continue. Second, legality of concessions applied in the calculation of taxes. But I want to talk about something. What's it? In our country, there are not many concessions in taxes. But you can say, example, in our country, tax benefits are mostly in the form of offset taxes. And I think it's the main part of concessions or discounts in tax sector in our country. Okay, and the last one, timely transfer of taxes and other payments to the budget. For example, pay your taxes one time in a month, one time in a year, or etc., depending on the type of your taxes. Okay, let's continue. Accounts number 521, 522, and 523. These 3 accounts are the main information sources of this checking process. I wanted to explain one of them, the first one, 521. As you see, these sub-accounts can be opened in the account number 521. This account named tax liabilities, and you can see types of taxes: income tax settlements, value-added tax settlements. You know, income tax settlements are divided into 2 parts in our country: personal income tax and corporate income tax. Value-added tax settlements, property tax settlements, land tax settlements, mining tax settlements, transport tax settlements, and etc. Okay, let's talk about audit of salary settlements. As you know, salary or wage, we can define so in a simple way, in an easy way. In a simple way, a salary is money earned in return for work done or for labor done. So, the main purpose of the inspection is to determine the correctness of the calculation of wages, salaries, and deductions from it, the documentation and recording of all types of settlements between enterprise and employees. So, the auditor must check the followings. Of course, it's so clear that the first one must be correct calculation of salary, because each worker must get his salary in return of work done. So, let's continue from the second one. The legality of the deductions from salary to pension fund budget, and etc. I already mentioned it that there are some deductions from salary also in our country, and strict types of it, taxes, deductions to pension funds, and maybe compulsory insurance, and it means that all of these deductions must be under legality or in the norms by government. Okay, let's continue. Proper documentation of compensation or incentive payments to employees. What does it mean? You see the explanation of compensation and incentive payments here. Compensation is a total, one-time and lump sum payment made by an enterprise for damages and dismissals to employees. It means that maybe there happens any bad things to any employees, or the enterprise dismisses his employees, and then the enterprise must give a compensation to its employees. But incentive payments, you see that may be made. It means that the enterprise isn't forced to pay these payments to his employees. But incentive payments may be made by enterprise to motivate employees. This means that enterprise can give it, and if doesn't want, can't give it. It's not a problem. Okay, let's continue the last sentence. Account number 533 is the main information source in this checking process. Okay, let's return to our outline. Actually, there are some other types of settlements and credit operations, but I tried to explain it shortly and briefly because it's a non-specialty subject for the students, for third-year students of economics. But maybe for the students of accounting and audit departments, they will see much more than it about this topic. And at the end, I want to show you the accounts and the full name of accounts that are used in our topic today. Let's talk about them. The first one, materials, 201, capitalization of land, building and equipment costs, long-term payables to suppliers and contractors, short-term payables to suppliers and contractors. Okay, generally this four accounts is used in our first subheadings, the audit of settlements with suppliers and contractors. But account number 211, short-term receivables from buyers and customers, it's about our second chapter, second subheading. Then long-term bank loans, long-term debts, short-term bank loans, and short-term debts. These four accounts are generally used in settlement with credit and debit, or credit and debit settlements, we can call it so. So, tax liabilities, social insurance and security liabilities, liabilities for other mandatory payments. These three accounts are generally used with the settlements of budget, with budget, and the last one, 533, payroll debts to staff. It's about our last subheading. It's about settlements of salary. So it's the end of my lesson for today. I hope I will see you soon. Okay, thanks.